Hello, good evening, and welcome to the LFC Daytrippers. This is the Friday forecast. The international messing is over, and we're back to proper football. With me tonight, I'm delighted to be joined by Arsenal fan and debutant on the show, Lee Gunner. I'm also joined by regular now at this stage from All Leeds TV, Joe Wainman, and the much anticipated return of Pete Selby from For Fuck's Sake podcast. What a name, by the way, I always say it. But the reason people want Pete back is A, he's good, and B, I destroyed Brendan Rodgers at the end of last season, and people are waiting to see me and Pete have a discussion about the man. It will happen throughout this show as we go along. Just to let you know, before we start, we've put a tweet out there to let everybody know we're live. If you're on Twitter, hit the retweet button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, share. You know how it goes. Lads, the way we're going to work this tonight is we picked out 4 games from the weekend to go and talk about in detail. They are Newcastle, Chelsea, Spurs versus City, Leeds versus Arsenal, and of course Liverpool versus Leicester. We will do them in that order, and in between we look at the other 6 fixtures, get some quick predictions, and by the end of this, the 4 of us are going to, I suppose, Joe will probably be the best at it because he's good, where we're going to give 3 scorers any time for the weekend. We'll see how we go. Red Steve says, Gav's back on the top left. I don't pay much attention to that, Steve, but I could move it just to annoy you, but I won't. How does that sound? I'm feeling in great form because I don't have to watch international football for another 5 months. Going to start with Newcastle v Chelsea. And Pete, I'm going to come to you first. You know, you look at Newcastle and it's always a bit hit and miss every week with them. Steve Bruce doing an okay job, I suppose. And then you look at Chelsea, the mega money they've spent over the summer. The manager in place, for me, isn't going to do anything with them, but I could be wrong. Is it one of those where you think Newcastle have a chance here, or do you think it's one that Chelsea just have to win if they're going to reach, you know, the aspirations that they have, I suppose, for the season?
It's one that Chelsea needs to win if they're going to get anywhere near who eventually will be going for the title, whoever that might be. Might well be us come May. But I think if this was maybe 3 or 4 games ago, I would have been more confident about possibly an upset with Newcastle. I just think Newcastle have gone slightly off the boil. They're not quite as potent as they were. The signing of Wilson's been a signing that they've needed for a long time, kind of a figurehead up top that they know who can score goals. But I just feel Chelsea are coming into themselves now. They're starting to play the brand of football I think everyone thought that they would be with these players that they were signed. They knew there would be kind of a settling-in period, trying to sort out the side, players coming back from injury. And I just think they're going to be too classy. And I think Newcastle, as much as St James's Park is not the easiest place to go and play football, there's no crowd there. It's going to be nice and easy, I think, for Chelsea. And I can see them actually scoring a few. I think it's going to be a comfortable away win, and the likes of Ziyech now playing well. He's got a fantastic dead ball delivery. I can just see Chelsea, if they score early, scoring maybe 3 or 4. I can see it being a fairly routine away win.
Lee, I'll come to you next. You know, Chelsea, of course, a London rival of your club, and when you look at the money they spent over the summer, and you know, people questioned maybe Thiago Silva, you know, where would Werner play, you know, Kai Havertz, you know, you see them all, Ziyech is in, Ben Chilwell at left back, and like as an Arsenal fan looking at this Chelsea side, and they're in 5th position at the moment now, it's very early days, it's only 8 league games gone, but is it a case of if Chelsea stay in this long enough and maybe get through the new year and they're starting to gel, they could really have a good pop at this league, or is it a case of they probably need a few more? And I've major doubts over the manager, Lee, I'm going to be honest. How do you feel?
Well, firstly, thanks for having me on. And big
No
up to
problem.
everyone in the chat room as well. Appreciate that. And you said that there are London rivals. I wish we was rivaling them. If I'm honest. They're light years ahead of Arsenal, unfortunately. But the thing I worry with Chelsea, like, it's not really a worry because they're not my team, but I look at Chelsea, they're the top scorers in the league this season. They ain't even gelled yet. You know, they haven't managed to get Kai Havertz into the team and consistent performances from him. You know, Werner's not really hit top form yet, although his output for goals and assists is pretty much 1-in-1. And defensively, I think they've got one of the best defenses in the league. I think they're level with us on goals conceded. And Newcastle is a bit of a weird one for them because Newcastle's their kryptonite normally. You know, normally they go, even under Mourinho days, they'd go to Newcastle and lose. So it's a bit of a tough one for them, but they haven't got Thiago Silva this time round. I think he's out injured. So that's a big miss for them, because let's be real, we can all laugh and joke about his age, but he has actually been brilliant since he's been in the league. Other than one blunder, I think it was against West Bromwich Albion, he's been superb. And he's kind of dragged everyone up around him as well. Like Kurt Zuma's been playing alongside him at times, and he's been brilliant. And Kurt Zuma, for me, is just a bang average centre-back, but just goes to show when you've got a quality centre-back next to you, talking you through games, giving you that experience, you know, and that big game experience, it does bring everyone's game up. But in terms of Newcastle, I think Chelsea will win the game. I think they'll comfortably win the game. I agree. I think they'll win it comfortably. But can they challenge for a title? This season started a little bit like the season Leicester won the league. You know, everyone's just slapping goals past everyone and nobody can defend at the moment. Tottenham, for me, are a big worry. But yeah, you'd have to say they're in and about it. Definitely Tottenham as well. And that's hard to say as an Arsenal fan, but the Jose factor as well. But yeah, Chelsea can be in it. And if they can put a run of form together and they get them big boys firing goals. I mean, Ziyech in the last game was just unplayable. What a player. And yeah, for me, they're definitely in a title race.
Yeah, I think a fairly open title race, to be honest with you. You know, I even have a Liverpool fan say to me, we just ran over the league last season, and they did. You know, they ran over it from early doors and nobody was keeping up with them. But the whole, I think, and there's a multiple of situations going on here with no crowds, a tightened schedule, you know, international breaks every fucking 2 weeks. You're not allowed to make enough subs, so players have gone down with injury. There's so much going on that somebody could come from the pack. I've said Spurs from early on. I think Spurs, for me, he has them playing a Mourinho way, and he has them believing in what he's trying to do, and I think that's half the battle with Mourinho's teams. But like, it could be anyone's. It genuinely could be anyone's. Now, if all things being equal, I think Liverpool and Man City are there, and the rest are scrapping away. But I don't think all things are equal at the moment, and I don't mean that in a way that, oh, you know, feel sorry for Man City or Liverpool. I don't mean it like that. What I mean is there's situations going on that are affecting clubs in different ways, and it's even in the playing field a little bit, and it's good for Premier League viewers, and I think it'll be really exciting till very, very late in the season. Just to let you know, in the chat, there's loads of love for P and Lee and Joe, and delighted to have them all on. It's brilliant when you see this sort of stuff going on in the chat room. It's there's loads of different names in there. There's some references that I'm not getting, but look, I don't get most stuff. I wouldn't worry about it. Joe, Lee is laughing because I think Lee gets the references. But Joe, you're looking at this, and you know, Chelsea, Newcastle. I'm kind of veering on the side of, I understand where Pete's coming from. It's not the easiest place in the world to go, St James's Park. They are a bit hit and miss, Newcastle, but they're the sort of team that just pull something out like this every so often, aren't they? And they will sit back and let Chelsea play them and have a lot of the ball. It's up to Chelsea to break them down. And could Newcastle have enough on the break to worry them in Callum Wilson, St Maximin? You know, they have a couple of players there that can hold you.
Yeah, I mean, it's really painful for me to hear the two lads be so gushing over Chelsea and Lampard. You know what my thoughts are? I mean, there was loads of people in the comments saying that boy in the top right doesn't look happy. Look, Chelsea haven't really played anyone of note yet. And when they did, you know, against Liverpool, they just sat in and were absolutely terrible. They've got some tough fixtures coming up. Obviously, Newcastle, I think they play Spurs. They then play us, and they've got there's some tough fixtures coming up. Anyway, Wolves, City, I think. So after these next 6 or 7, then let's see where Chelsea are and see what they're about. But just on what Lee said as well, 1 win in 9 for Chelsea at St James's Park. 1 win in 9, you know, and like you said, Newcastle can pull something out, and I don't want to touch on my scorer yet, but I fancy them to nick it, man. You know, I do. I'm feeling Newcastle to nick it, and to put Lampard back in his box for a bit, Gav.
Yeah, well, Joe, that's always your wish come the weekend. That Chelsea get beaten, and then secondly, Leeds win. I'm convinced of that now at this stage. But lads, just going around the table, and we'll get some score predictions on this one. Pete, what are you having on this one?
I'm going for a big away win. I can't really see Newcastle unless it's a late goal, maybe consolation. I can see it being a 3-0 Chelsea win, to be honest, and just being relatively calm and straightforward. I know most people, well, everyone around here, really wants a game to kickstart the Premier League weekend, but I can just see it being a routine win. And 3-0 to the away side.
Okay, Lee, what are you having on this one?
Despite Newcastle being their bogey team, I think early kickoff, set the tone, go top of the league. I think if they win it, I'm going 4-1 Chelsea.
Okay. Joe?
Thiago Silva out, Chilwell out. I think Newcastle can nick it. I'm going 1-0.
Oh, I'd say you get decent money on that. 1-0 to Newcastle at the weekend. The only thing I would say is that, this reminds me a little bit of when Chelsea went away to West Brom. And West Brom everyone just thought they're going straight back down, and they probably still will. But, they were they 3-0 down early doors, and they came back to 3-3, of course. But there's a bit of that about this one for me. I think they'll edge it. I think Chelsea will edge it. I think they'll edge it 2-1. And Joseph is saying that Chilwell is okay. He'll play tomorrow. So is Extreme HD.
I'm just checking that myself.
Yeah, so a lot of people saying Jurgen reckons Andy Carroll at the back post. Kangaroo has 1-0 to Chelsea. I'm very surprised at the low scoring predictions, especially Joe's one of 1-0. Lads, 2 games to go. Just want quick predictions off you before we go on to our next main game. And the first one is Joe. Villa v Brighton, please.
Villa 2-0.
Okay, Lee.
It's at Villa Park, yeah?
Yeah, Villa v Brighton, yeah.
4-0 Villa.
Oh, wow. Obviously, the wounds are still open from last week. Pete, go on, Pete.
I'm going to go for a Villa win. I think Brighton can hold them, though. I can see it being 1-0, maybe a bit of Grealish magic, 1-0. 1-0.
I think Brighton are the sort of team this season that they look okay, and then they just give away goals, and they can't quite get back into it. I'm going to go 2-1 to Villa on that one. The next one up is Manchester United against West Brom. Lee, I'll come to you first on this one.
If Man United don't win that, then the Ollie out brigade are going to have the banners out, aren't they? I do think Man United will win that. I'm going to go 2-1 United.
Okay. P, Man United v West Brom.
Yeah, it could get quite nervy if it's goalless at half-time, but I think they'll just have too much for them, and I think overall they can run out pretty comfortable. Say 3-0 to Man U, maybe late goals though, but 3-0.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think 3-0 Manchester United. Joe?
2-1. I think West Brom will score, to be fair.
Okay. Kieran B, United back 15 penalties. Jer Cahill says penalty to Manchester United in the first 10. Bruno, hat-trick on penalties, says Kieran B. Penalties. On to our next main game, and it's Spurs in second place against Man City, who's sitting 10th at the moment, with a game in hand over the rest of the league. I think the game in hand is actually against Villa. And Lee, I'll come to you first on this one. I've said already, I like the look of Spurs. I think their squad is a little bit deeper than it was last season, and the big thing for me this season is they were actually quite good under Mourinho when he took over. I think the form he had them in would have got them top 4 from the start of last season if he'd have been in from the first day. But the big thing about the way they're playing now is they look a bit more robust. They look a little bit more in control, and I think he's identified with Harry Kane that he's not going to run in behind defences. He's not going to stretch it, but he can drop into pockets, pick up ball, and he's a very intelligent footballer. And I think he's getting the absolute best out of him without getting as many goals as he usually does. But when you look at this one against City, is there a danger here for City, despite having a game in hand, that if they were to lose this, you kind of start looking, going, is that drifting away here, lads? You need to get back on this.
Well, the thing with City is, despite how poor they've started the season, they have actually only lost 1 game, and they've got a mad amount. I think only Liverpool have got more injuries than them, so they haven't done too bad. I know they've not been all singing, all dancing, Man City. I know Pep's just signed a new deal. Maybe that'll give them a bit of a boost. I don't know, but It's at White Hart Lane. Jose Mourinho is the master of big game parking the bus tactics. And he has beaten Man City as Tottenham manager. I think Bergwijn scored in his debut, I think it was. So, you know, he knows Pep. He's played against him or been up against him so many times, even in Spain. So this is going to be a really interesting game because, like you said about Harry Kane is a back-to-goal striker for me. Yeah, but for me, he's world-class. Yeah, and I hate that he plays for that lot. I can't stand, and he used to be in our academy, which makes it even worse. But he's world-class. He's a top-class finisher. You put him in and around a penalty box, low-driven, bottom corner every time. Wins a header in the box, he'll score. I mean, for England the other night, it's only Lukaku clearing it off the line, stops a great header off a corner. So Kane is the danger man, but I think that they're going to, Man City, try and focus on Son because Son, for me, is their best player. Yeah, he's absolutely brilliant. And I think that it's going to be a bit of a weird game because Man City can't really afford to lose it because they are already quite a way behind, 6 points or whatever it is. If they go and lose that game, it is going to be a bit of a mad struggle, especially if the other teams around them go and win all their games. Tottenham are obviously above them, only lost one game themselves this season. So I don't know. What do Man City do? Man City have got a world-class manager. Tottenham, for me, have got a world-class manager. They've both got top-drawer players in their squad. But for me, I think Tottenham, it's hard to predict a Tottenham win. Yeah, I think Tottenham are shaded. I think they'll win 2-1 because I think that there'll come a point in that game where Jose is just happy to take a draw, even though they are at home. It's against a big opposition and a team that could potentially rival for a title. So I think Jose would be happy with a draw. I think Pepper actually think 20 minutes to go. If it's still 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, he'll go for it, and that's where they'll come undone. I'm going Spurs 2-1.
Well, I think that'd be huge. Pete, are we making too much of what's going on at City here? Because, like I said, if they win their game in hand, I think they go 2 points behind Liverpool, and they'd be only 3 points off the top if they win their game in hand. Not counting this weekend, of course. But are we making too much of this at City? Because Pep's obviously signed a contract extension now. They have got players out who are on the way back, and you know. There was a lot made last season of they hadn't won 5 games in a row all season and stuff like that. But they still are a side, aren't they? They could literally just go and win 10, 15 games on the trot. We've seen it in previous seasons.
Yeah, and also they've got a nice run of fixtures after this game. And because the league's the way it is, you can't really write anyone off who you would, at the start of the season, maybe have put towards the top of the league. We mentioned Chelsea earlier on. And if a team does go on a run of 4 or 5 wins, then they can be top of the league, just like Leicester at the moment. And Man City's, as mentioned, the only defeat was to us at the Etihad. And with the players that they've got in their squad, once all fit, which is going to be a big question for most sides, especially prevalent with Liverpool and Leicester this weekend, there's no doubt that Man City can string not only 4 or 5 wins together, but upwards of 9, 10, 11. And then you're looking at what's happened over the last couple of years, maybe a 2-horse race. At the moment, though, I think there are problems. They're missing Sergio Aguero so much, any team would do. But I think for this game, I can see it being one of those games where, yes, it's one of the kind of highlights of the weekend, but with Tottenham playing well and with them coming up to a run of very difficult fixtures, I can just see it turning into one of those games where nothing actually happens for the first, say, hour or so. I can see both sides cancelling each other out, not wanting to lose the game. And then maybe late on, through substitutions, through maybe Manchester City having a very small forward line. You look at the possible forward line of having maybe Torres could be in a false 9 position if Sterling's back, maybe playing further out wide than, say, Torres, who played so well for Spain midweek, scoring a hat-trick. And then you've got Bernardo Silva, etc. It's a very interesting lineup against a Tottenham side who I think are quite susceptible for a bit of pace and smaller, tricky players. You look at their back line, and I think they're late on you can get at Spurs. I think when they play against lesser opposition in the Premier League, I think Spurs can kind of dominate late on through their physicality up top when you look at the likes of the pace of Son and Kane and Bale. But I can just see this maybe turning towards Man City late on. And I would go for an away win. I can see it being a 1-0. I can see Man City keeping Tottenham at bay, but maybe not just through their play, maybe by Mourinho just being a bit overcautious. So I think both sides, especially coming back up an international break, will be cautious early on, and I can see maybe the game being won late on. And if it had to be a side, I think I'll pop for Man City.
Okay. Joe, you know, people have mentioned that Spurs haven't played really anyone of note. I know they went away to Old Trafford and won, and United had a player sent off, and it was one of those days. But I want to read you the next series of fixtures for Spurs, because they sit second at the moment behind Leicester, and the next 8, I think it's the next 8, Joe, right? So it's Tottenham are home to Man City, away to Chelsea, home to Arsenal, okay, away to Palace, away to Liverpool, home to Leicester, away to Wolves, right? That brings you up until Boxing Day. That's a ridiculous run of fixtures that they have. Could Mourinho look at this one and say, I'm with Pete. I'm with Pete with the cautious stuff. I think, and I'm with Lee to an extent as well. I think Mourinho, if you give Mourinho a draw now, he'd just take it. He'd just say, yeah, get that out of the way, and I'll just flat track bully the rest of the league as best I can and take me chances when these bigger games come up. But is this a chance for Spurs to go, these are really hard, let's try put something on the board early? Because I'm not saying it would unravel, but that sort of fixture list, Joe, if you lose one and then you lose another, before you know it, you've lost, 5 and 8, and where are you? Could it be a case of Mourinho changing his tact a little bit?
I'm not sure. I mean, look, you mentioned earlier, about City. If Spurs and Liverpool were to win this weekend, I think there's an 8-point gap over City. Do you know what I mean? And City haven't had a great start, but just on Spurs, look, if anyone's going to win anything with Spurs, it's going to be Mourinho, isn't it? He knows what needs to be done, to win silverware. And I do think along the line, they are going to win silverware under Mourinho. It's just what he does. That run of fixtures, though, is just insane. That's going to be some tough going. But just for the weekend, I don't know, like with the City situation, I didn't see Pep signing a new deal either. I've been saying week after week, that's what's going wrong at City. It's their worst start since 2009, I think, and Pep's worst start ever as a manager, So I was thinking, he's done, man. He's gone. This is his last time. So for him to sign a new deal, KDB, I think they're going to go big and bring in. I think Aguero leaves in the summer and they bring someone like a Haaland in, someone like that. I think City are going big, and I think they could have a bit of a buoyance, a bit of an upturn now after this new deal and a little bit more certainty in and around the club. Because I think I've spoken to City fans like Bouvier, etc., that just didn't know what was going to happen. They didn't think Pep was going to be still here, So I think we might see a resurgence. But just on Spurs, if anyone can get through that fixture list, if anyone can win silverware, it's going to be Mourinho. It's what he does, man. I really rate both the managers. So it's going to be a great game for me. Yeah, and I think Tottenham could do bits this season. I know Lee won't like that, but I think we'll.
Try not to upset Lee on his debut on this show. But look, what can we do if Spurs are good? Kev O'Sullivan, of course, reminds me, and you throw in the Europa League fixtures as well, which it's no fun, and Pete'll experience that as it gets down to it as well. Lads, you've kind of thrown predictions at me, but I've given you a couple of minutes to listen to all the views on this. So Lee, give us your definitive on this one.
Well, on the Man City, Tottenham Man City.
Are you sticking with your?
I'm sticking with my prediction. I think Tottenham are just about nick it, and the reason I say that is because, like you said, I know their fixtures are a mad run, and equally, I know we could probably come to Arsenal at some point, but Arsenal's next run of fixtures is just as bad as Tottenham. So I think Jose will look at that and think, if we can nick a win out of it, then that gives us a good start. But I think he'd be happy with a draw, but I do think they'll win it. I think Man City need the points more than Tottenham. Okay.
Pete, you sticking with your prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a City win, late goal, 1-0. And it could be from a set play or something, but I can just see it being a stalemate and then 1 goal winning it, and I'll plump for City.
Joe, what are you going for?
I don't.
I know. I'm asking you this again because I know you're a bit torn on it.
I will go 1-1. Go 1-1.
All right.
I'll go 1-0.
Splinters everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan J has 3-1 to Man City. For Real has 3-1 to Spurs. Flash Gordon has 2-2. Ricken in the comments is having a breakdown. I don't know why, but relax. But put the kettle on. It'd be cool. It'd be all right. Dan Thomas has 2-2 as well. Kevin Sullivan has 3-1 to Spurs. I'm going to go. Do you know what? I shouldn't have done this show because I kind of had the thing in my head, and then you three have done this to me, and now I don't know where I am. But I still go. I still maintain Mourinho looks at it and goes, "There's a gap to Man City. If they win their game in hand, there's still a gap, and he'd like to maintain that gap. Just maintain it, not extend it." I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. I think there will be goals. I think Pete is right. You can get at Spurs in certain ways, but you can get at Man City as well. Like the first 25 minutes last week, Liverpool against Man City, Liverpool should have been 3 up. If they'd have taken the chances, they were out of sight. Now City came back into the game quite well. I thought Liverpool were poor second half, but they did come into it, and 1-1 was probably a fair reflection overall. But Liverpool take their chances. They're out of sight against City for me, and if you can get at Kyle Walker, you'll have joy all day for me. But I'm gonna stick with 2-2. Toxic thinks that Bale will be the difference. Bertrand Soup says leave Ricken alone. I told him just make a cup of tea. It's grand. He'd be okay. We're not having a go. Spurs 2-0 says P. Warner. So 2 more fixtures to have a look at. Pete, I'll come to you first. Fulham v Everton. The Everton who won the league a couple of weeks ago, but now aren't in the league. What's going on there, Fulham v Everton for you?
I can see it being an away win. I know that might be kind of an easy thing just to say straight off the bat, but it's a one-man show really. Richarlison's back for Everton. Everton, since he signed for them in 2018, Richarlison, when he's not been in the first team squad, Everton have not won. So you get the stats really back up, and all the headlines have been taken by Dominic Calvert-Lewin, obviously with his goals. But I don't think you can underestimate the effect that Richarlison's had on the Everton side, and I think his return will give everyone a lift. It will help out some of the players who sparkled early on in the season. Rodriguez is a prime example, and 1 or 2 others further back in midfield. Where it was interesting when they first started in the Premier League this season, where they completely changed the midfield. That was an area which most people would have pinpointed and saying that's where Everton needed to improve. They changed it completely, played everyone from the start, and it worked amazingly well for the first 6-7 games, and they were riding high. It's kind of gone off the boil, but if you're going to go somewhere, go to Craven Cottage. They've just got problems, and it's not really for me with Fulham. I just think overall they're not good enough. That might be quite simple, but I think that's the case. We all expected Mitrovic has been, I think, quite poor. They've missed obvious chances. They've missed a number of penalties. The obvious one being last game week in the Premier League. What a mess that was. And I just think overall you look at the Fulham side and they're just not good enough. And nothing against the manager, nothing against the players. It's just the standard of football that they're up against. And I think overall quality will tell. And I think the Richarlison factor will mean Everton will probably run out in the end, probably comfortable winners. But I can imagine, again, it will be in a fairly close game up until maybe the second half. But I think the quality is just going to tell in the end.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I genuinely do. Lee, Everton started like a house on fire. They were having DVDs made. It was all happening down the Bullens Road. But you look at it, and in fairness, like I'm only joking about Everton. I'm not, but I am. The thing about them is, they identified. I thought they identified really well in the summer what they wanted to do, and they went out and got the players that they thought they needed, and it started really well. But for me, Lee, it's one of those where when they have to fall back on the players that they were dependent on last season that weren't good enough, it's when they struggle. It's probably a case of, it probably puts into perspective that Everton need another 1 or 2 transfer windows to push on again, to get to a level where if we have 1 or 2 out, we still have people there that are able deputies.
it's kind of mad with Everton because they've got a manager for me that they're punching well above their weight by getting. He should be Arsenal manager. Like they should have Arteta. Like, let's be real here. It's like roles reversed. But to bag James Rodriguez, although I don't particularly think he's the greatest attacking midfielder in the world scene and don't rate him that highly, he's come into the Premier League and he's been superb. I know he kind of disappeared in the last game or whatever, but I think it was Southampton or whoever they played. But he's been brilliant. And it just goes to show, I agree, like Richarlison's a massive miss for them because he is the guy that can travel with the ball 30, 40, 50 yards up the pitch. And he's got that little spark in him.
He's like their aggression, isn't he?
Yeah, it's mad because I think Richarlison's massively overrated. He's not worth 80, 90 million quid, which apparently Barcelona wanted him for. But at the same time, if I look at Everton's squad, I think that their midfield's better than Arsenal's. They've got a manager better than Arsenal's, and they've got a striker, like in terms of out-and-out striker, comparing him to Lacazette, that's levels above Lacazette. So they've got a core there. The problem for them is that their goalkeeper's useless. They've got a couple of defenders that are no good. He
has little arms.
I call him dinosaur arms. It's mad. Yeah. But I just think that, this is probably the right game for Everton to have after the backup. I think it's 3 straight losses.
Yes.
It's so great. And I just think that Fulham are the whipping boys this season. We went there. We're not great as a club and as a team. We went there and it was just a walk in the park on a Sunday afternoon against Fulham, and I don't see that being any different for Everton. I think Everton will go there and absolutely hammer them. And in terms of hammering them, I say 3-0, but it'll be a comfortable, easy 3-0 stroll in the park.
Yeah, it's interesting, Joe. I always like to talk to you about the teams that have come up because obviously you were involved with them and played them on numerous occasions last season. And you see Fulham and they've a chance there at West Ham to get a point, and Lookman is trying ridiculous penalties, and it just doesn't look good for them. Do you still stick where you are from the start of the season? Just go, they're going back down? Because like Pete said, as much as they can try and as much as Scott Parker might try different things and ideas, they just don't have the quality.
Yeah. I think they didn't really deserve to go up, if I'm honest. Brentford should have gone up ahead of them over the course of the season. Do you know what I mean? And I don't really rate Parker. I've said that to you before.
Yeah.
They just don't look great. And for Lookman to do what he did in the situation that they're in, trying to get results on the board, I thought it was absolutely crazy. And Parker must be fuming. Does he bomb him out? I mean, if I'm the coach, I'm bombing him out for that. Do you know what I mean? And
but the problem is he's probably
he's
one of only, he's probably one of only 2 players that are a threat. Him and Mitrovic.
Yeah, true.
But
Everton comfortable win for me.
Okay. Quick predictions on this one. Joe, I'll come to you first. Sheffield United v West Ham.
I think Sheffield United are going to get the first win, 1-0.
Okay. Lee, not a London club. You're not going to back against them, are you?
2-1 West Ham.
Okay, good stuff. Fancy West Ham yourself in this one. I think Sheffield United are in a massive row. P, Sheffield United v West Ham.
It's got ball draw written all over it for me. 0-0. I think. I don't think West Ham going forward probably will break down maybe Sheffield United, who are going to go ultra defensive because they just need something. I can see it just being a stalemate. 0-0.
Nice. Okay. We move on to our third main game of this show, and it is, of course, Leeds v Arsenal. So strap yourselves in. Well, the lads.
Thanks for having me on.
Pete, I'm going to come to you first. I'm going to let them 2 stew for a minute. Let's have a little chat about Leeds and Arsenal. And look, Leeds came to Anfield on the first day of the season. They were a breath of fresh air for me against a Liverpool side that were a little bit, I don't know whether they underestimated Leeds or they just weren't on it. Liverpool get the win in the end, but it was one of those where it kind of could have went either way. They've had some good wins. They go and they bash Villa at Villa Park, and you've seen Villa beat Liverpool 7-2 and go and win 3-0 at the Emirates. And then they've had a couple now, Leicester. Leicester, I think exposed them. And it was something that me and Joe spoke about before that game, where Leicester could expose them. And then they go to Palace, and what happens at Palace. And in the midst of it is all a VAR thing, which I can't go into, because when I go into it, you'll be here till about 4 a.m. listening to me about it. But when you look at Leeds, P, and then you look at Arsenal. So Leeds are a little bit of a wounded animal, after those couple of defeats, and Bielsa won't stand for that. It's not a case of like a Fulham or a West Brom where they're losing games and you just go, we're losing games and we'll see where we go. Bielsa will demand a hell of a lot more standard, a higher standard, I suppose. And then you look at Arsenal, and we're going to get on to Lee in a minute because Lee is fairly adamant how he feels about Arsenal, and it's actually quite refreshing. Where this is 15th against 11th at the moment, P. And it's a bit of a crunch game, I think, for both.
It's an interesting game. Two sides who Leicester have turned over this year. Just get that quick. And
I love that.
It's very interesting because it's two sides, two decent sides. Let's put it that way in the Premier League. We're not talking anything. I don't think there's problems in terms of, say, with Leeds United being sucked into a relegation fight. I know things have not been going too well at Arsenal, but I think there's two sides where if you were to draw a league table and to say, stick a couple of sides towards the top of the league who you can get at, Leeds and Arsenal would be right up there. You can get at them. We did exactly that away at Leeds. I think Leeds United, the problem with Leeds, it's not even what I would say a problem. It's just their brand of football and their style of football, which is great, fantastic. But it's to a certain level where if you come across a side who generally from 1 to 11 are maybe just a step above the players that they've got, because they've only just obviously come up from the Championship, and they can be found out because of the style that they play. They can be got at. That's what happened with Leicester. Arsenal, I think, are quite similar. I think there's a problem at Arsenal, and the problem is, and I don't know whether that's going to be the case here, but I just don't think that they're as good as most Arsenal fans think. And they've got one or two good players, very, very good players. But I think the rest are bang average. And I think players, and so teams like Leicester, like Everton in places, like Tottenham, away from the stars at Tottenham, I think those sides, for example, and Wolves have bought players who are just generally better than what Arsenal have brought in over the last few years. And there's no surprise to me that both of these clubs are where they are. I think it's going to be a brilliant game to watch. I can see it being very high scoring. And I'll put that mainly down to the fact that Leeds will be playing their style of football, their great style of football, brilliant to watch. And I think Arsenal have the forward line to hurt them, though. And, Aubameyang really needs to put his finger out, really. He's since he signed that mega money deal, it's all kind of gone horribly wrong for him in front of goal. I think we'll obviously hear more about that and what maybe the problem is there. He's a great player. I think this has got goals written all over it, and I don't think it's going to make or break either team's season, to be honest. But I can see it maybe even ended in a draw, but being a very high-scoring draw. Looking forward to this one, and not really bothered who wins, because it doesn't. I don't think Arsenal will be in front of Leicester towards the end of the season. I don't think Leeds will be either. I'm just looking forward to this one, and I can see it being a very high-scoring game, a very open game, and I can see both sides taking advantage of the weakness in the opposition.
Yeah, I fully agree with you. I absolutely fully agree with you on so many points you've made there, and I'm going to put them to the two lads now. A. Loringer says, I actually think Leeds and Arsenal are on a similar footing. They both have clear strengths and clear weaknesses. I think that's a very fair point.
Yeah.
Joe, I said to you last week, or a couple of weeks, the last time you were on this show, just before Palace, I said to you, look, you've been beaten here, you've been beaten there, you're going to Palace. Is there a chance that Bielsa changes his style? And not because he's admitting he's wrong or it's, doesn't have confidence in his players, but you have to adjust to the situation you're in, the league you're in, the players you're playing against, and he just seems to have this kind of gung-ho, chase everyone down attitude. And the reason I'm asking that, Joe, is because I keep coming back to Norwich from last season, and Norwich tried to play this brand of football that everyone thought was pretty, and it was so naive, it was untrue. It was a great idea, but when you don't have the players to implement it, it's not. And then when you're playing against the quality you're playing against, it looks even worse. Joe, does them last couple of results make you think we need to kind of do something? We need to adapt ourselves a little bit here, even to make ourselves a little bit more secure, a little bit tighter at the back, and then trust our players going forward that, okay, it might be 4-1 or 4-3, but we get a goal and then we can sit in and then we nick a 2-0, and that's as good as any other result once you're getting 3 points.
He's not going to change. I don't want him to change. I love the brand of football we play. It's the best I've been able to see as a Leeds United fan. I think the Leicester game, just to touch on it, Bamford scores early doors. It's a different game. If Pablo Hernandez doesn't hit the crossbar, we're 2-2. We maybe go on and win the game. Crystal Palace isn't a 4-1 game. Bamford has one chalked off for offside, which shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
They score a free kick, which he can't do nothing about it. And the goal that Van Aanholt scores, basically scored from the corner flag. It took a wicked deflection and went under Melier's hands. It's not a 4-1 game. But, as I've said to you before, Gav, Leeds United will get a lot of scalps, but also in some games get spankings due to the way that we play. And that's been the case against Leicester and against Palace. And a lot of that's due to the way that they set up and the speed in which they can go in the transitions, you know, to go from front to back so quick. And of course, with the man marking system and the pressing system that we use, that once you break it, there is space to run into, you know, and you're always going to find that with Bielsa. It's just how it is. Do I think he'll have done a lot of work on it? Yes. I mean, he's had 2 weeks off. He has to do something, of course. We've got to remember as well, we were missing Calvin Phillips, which is a huge loss for Leeds United.
Is he back?
Because he's back. He's back.
Okay.
Rodrigo as well. Rodrigo was also missing due to COVID. He's back. So he offers so much, because against Leicester, there was times where we couldn't string 5 passes together in their half. We were lacking so much creativity. And I think what had happened is, after the great result at Villa, he decided to go with that same team that played that second half, and it just didn't work against Leicester. We're without Calvin. We're missing the creativity of Rodrigo. And it's been tough because depth-wise, we don't have what the rest of the teams have. You know, we just don't. We've just got young lads in there, you know. But for this weekend, I think we can get a result against Arsenal. And the reason I say that is, I was doing some research earlier on. I think Arsenal have had, or do have, the most touches in their own box than any other side. I think Bert Leno's got
I can't see them doing up a plaque for that, Joe. I'm going to be honest with you.
No,
Everton maybe, but not Arsenal.
Yeah, what I mean by this, I think Bert Leno's got the shortest average pass length in the division, and I see that and think, if they're going to play with that style and continue to persist playing it out from the back, they will get caught by our press. They will. You know, Bamford, Rodrigo, Click, the wingers, Costa, Harrison. I think they will get caught out. And the fact no party, and we're up against Xhaka and Ceballos, we already seen in the FA Cup, Leeds gave Xhaka a bit of a tough time in that first half when we played him in the FA Cup. So I think we can get something out of the game on Saturday. And it's mad, because I see a lot of Arsenal fans actually saying they're nervous for the Leeds game, which is unheard of to think we've just come up, and Arsenal are a huge club. But I think maybe it's just I mean, if Arteta was to let the shackles off and let them go at us in fast transitions, which I don't think he will, then, you know, they probably could get at us. But I think it's more of a methodical approach they use to get. I mean, how many shots have they had? I think Patrick Bamford's got 8, and Arsenal team have got 9 goals. So, you know, they're really shot shy at the minute.
Lee,
I'm leaving.
I could come to you here for a rebuttal against that, but the chances are you're just going to go, yeah, he's spot on. The thing for me with Arsenal, and I don't know if you agree, and Pete mentioned something earlier, you know, they have got some really, really, really good players, but then there's a lot of them that, for me, are overhyped. I know you're not a fan of Arteta, and we'll get to that in a second, but what I would say is he's trying to bring his own brand of football, which is absolutely fine by me, because I think Arsenal for too long tried to play a perceived Arsenal way, which hadn't worked in 10 plus years. I don't know why they persisted. Whether that was Wenger or Unai Emery or whatever it might be, Arteta's trying to do something different, which is including really short kick-outs and stuff like that to the end line, and trying to play a centre-back in by playing it to the full-back and getting out past the press. But when I look at this, the one thing that's bugging me about this, Lee, is that I'm understanding about a manager getting time, but it's nearly a case when, you know, didn't they get beaten by City 1-0, and I was kind of going, they'll just think that's a 1-1 draw. The way it's going on now, it's like, is there too many excuses being made now? is it time to kind of go, listen, it's all great having this sort of standard of play or style of play, but there has to be some substance. Like, I thought they were a shambles against Villa, for argument's sake.
Sack him. It's as simple as that. Yeah,
Lovely.
He's been here this month.
Okay, if anybody hasn't got an alcoholic beverage around them, get one now.
I've actually run out of rum and coke, but it's in the kitchen. But honestly, I didn't want him as manager, and the reason I didn't want him as manager is for exactly what we've seen at the start of the season. People can bang on as much as they want about he won 2 trophies. Well, he didn't. He's won 1 trophy and he's won a charity game. You know, the Community Shield is not a trophy. It's a charity game. Let's have that right. And, you know, even though I wanted Wenger to go at the end of his tenure and like it was getting out of control, he still won 3 FA Cups in 4 seasons before he went. You know, our fans, a lot of our fans are sitting there making out that this is the second coming of Pep Guardiola. Well, he's absolutely butchered every single one of our youngsters. Every single one of them has regressed. Yeah, Martinelli, for example. So I might go on a bit of a rant here, so bear with me.
No, you take your time.
Martinelli was player of the month in January, run the whole length of the pitch at Stamford Bridge with 10 men, scores a goal. We didn't see him again until 6 weeks later when he came off the bench against Olympiacos and set Aubameyang up in extra time, in the second half of extra time to put us in the lead, which we then bottled under this manager. Yeah, in stoppage time. You know, then after that, he got injured in training. He's been out for 8 months. Yeah, he's now back in training. He is an absolute baller, Martinelli. Bukayo Saka, one of the best young prospects we've got in this country, let alone at Arsenal, in this country. And he's been superb for England. As soon as he signed a new contract, bench. Yeah, then you've got Nicola Pepe. You know, it's not just him. Unai Emery done it. Freddie Ljungberg done it. You know, I don't think he's played more than 5 straight games for Arsenal. That's embarrassing, especially when you go and sign Willian, who's not scored a goal for us yet, who, by the way, I don't particularly dislike. I wouldn't have said go and sign Willian, but, you know, I just think he's been shocking. He played up front against Man City away. I mean, come on. Then you've got Kieran Tierney, who for me is one of the best left-backs in the league, has the ability to be the best left-back in the league, and we're playing him at centre-back. It's like, what are you doing? I mean, if these were things and decisions that Arsene Wenger or Unai Emery were making, there'd be carnage. And, you know, we go and play against Liverpool. I mean, you guys, you'd know this. Like, we played against Liverpool. We've just beaten Fulham, you know, and I think we beat West Ham just.
Yeah.
And Gabriel was our best player in probably both of them games. He then drops him and puts him on the bench at Anfield because he doesn't want to ruin his confidence. Well, why? And then the thing that winds me up with it is that if I had known that Unai Emery was going to get sacked and Arteta was coming in, I would have kept Unai Emery. Because for me, for everything you just said about Leeds United, well, that was Unai Emery. We'll play expansive football. People forget how good we are. We battered Valencia home and away in a semi-final Europa League. We battered Tottenham. We battered Chelsea. We battered Man United. You know, we had some great. We battered Leicester at the Emirates in the second half. First half was a bit iffy. I see you move. The scoreline done it a bit too much justice, but that second half we were absolutely superb. We played some great free-flowing football. Fulham away 5-1. People, and the reason I say this is a lot of people were Wenger in, Wenger out. The ones that were Wenger out just wanted him gone. So Emery coming in, it was like lovely jubbly. The ones that were Wenger in didn't want the new manager full stop, whoever, no matter who it was. Now he got sacked with a better record than Arteta's got in his first 28 league games. Unai Emery had a better record for wins, draws and losses and goals scored than this manager's got. And that was when he was in his worst, his last 28 league games for Arsenal. He's got a better record than Arteta. But for me, the cult, and I call it a cult and a fetish, like for this manager, I don't get it, mate. I genuinely do not get it. And going into this game, I just look at it and I think the fact that we're sitting here worried, no disrespect, but we're worried about Leeds United. We are the Arsenal. Yeah, we should be going in this game with Aubameyang, Pepe, Saka. Thomas Partey's injured, cool. But we've got Gabriel, we've got Tierney, we've got Maitland-Niles. We're playing a guy at right back who just got sent back to Barcelona by Jack Grealish. You know what I mean? It's like, he's making so many wrong decisions. He's micromanaging players. His man management's embarrassing. He's killed off our kids. He's playing players out of position. But people want to come out with this comparison to Klopp at Liverpool. I mean, that's just embarrassing. Klopp had dominated in Germany, got to Champions League finals. You could see after 4 games, he went to Man City and hammered Man City away for Liverpool. We're sitting there killing off one of the best strikers in Europe because he wants to park the bus. And then our fans come out with, oh, but he's improved the defence. Well, yeah, of course he has, because he's got 11 men behind the ball. It's embarrassing, mate. And I say this all the time. You as a Leicester fan, mate, like, would Jamie Vardy play left wing? He wouldn't, would he, to accommodate Iniacho? That ain't going to happen. We've got the French Benteke up front, missing sitter after sitter after sitter. Then we've got Willian, who, like I said, I don't dislike, but what's Pepe got to do to get a game? He got hooked off against Dundalk or Mulder, or whoever. I think it was Dundalk. He scored a screamer in that game. He gets hooked off after 65 minutes, and we're thinking, cool. Last time he played against Luke Shaw's still spinning. Yeah. He didn't start and he didn't get a game. He didn't come off the bench. Why'd you hook him off? He's just scored a screamer. Against Dundalk. He played 5 at the back against Dundalk. I mean, like, bro, I could sit, I'm waffling, so I'm going to wrap this up, right? Because I could sit here for hours telling you every single deficiency with this manager and how he's doing.
What I would say is, if you do want to talk about it for hours, I'm the man to talk to, because Arsenal, as I said to you beforehand, I'm not an Arsenal fan. I don't even know, and I genuinely don't personally know an Arsenal fan, right? So I should have no interest in them, but they absolutely intrigue me, and they have done for years. So if you ever want me and you to sit down and do a podcast about Arsenal, I will be there, and I'll sit back and have a few drinks if you want to talk for an hour and a half. I've no problem. But what I would say, you touched on something there about the comparison to Klopp. Do you know something? I think what might be getting some Arsenal fans back up over this is, it's like a media narrative that's trying to create Pep Mark II, right? This Spanish guy, he's worked at this club and that club, and he's worked under Pep, and he's going to step out of his shadow, and he's, and I've even seen stuff like, oh, City are struggling. Maybe it was Arteta that was, the man that was, and I'm kind of going, give me have a fucking day off. As much as I think Pep's reputation is slightly inflated, I don't think the loss of Mikel Arteta will bring the Manchester City group to the ground. Let me put it that way. But when you see the comparison to Klopp, and it's like, oh well, and even Solskjaer, Solskjaer after so many games is better than Klopp. Oh, fair enough, but I don't think Solskjaer's going to last 5 years and be sitting there with European cups and titles. Arteta, for me, I to a point, I like what he's doing. I do like what he's trying to do, because he's trying to get away from the Arsenal thing that people thought was great when it wasn't, and the results showed from 2004 onwards, FA Cups aside. But I'm starting to think that he's being put on a certain shelf by the media, and he will never be taken off that shelf. He will always stay at that level regardless of what goes on. And he's a bit of a darling because he spent a lot of his career in England. You have to remember that.
Sorry to cut you off. I 100% agree with you, right? There's not a single person in them. I mean, I see Tim Cahill absolutely embarrass himself up against Roy Keane the other week. Roy Keane nailed it, yeah? He's not playing football like prime Bayern Munich. Yeah, he is playing boring football. People were sitting there banging on about, oh, we've got. I remember at the turn of the year, before when we went into lockdown, oh, we're unbeaten in 2020. How embarrassing is that? An achievement? Then we come out of lockdown, first game, 3-0 loss at the Etihad. Then we go and lose to Brighton away. We were winning the game. Pepe scores, he gets benched the next game. Every time Pepe scores, he's benched. And for me, real talk, right? I just look at it and I think that. When you look at, and I don't want to keep comparing him to Emery, because Emery, I wanted him sacked. But when you look at it, we had Petr Cech, we had Lichtsteiner, Jenkinson, Monreal, Koscielny, Alex Iwobi, Mkhitaryan. El Neni was in midfield for the on the bench for the Europa League final. We had Danny Welbeck up front. That's 8 to 10 players there that are not here. Socrates is another one. Socrates and El Neni are the only players I've just named there that are still at this football club. And that was what Emery worked with. Yes, you can throw Ramsey at me. Ramsey is one of the most overrated footballers I've ever seen. Koscielny is one of the most bang average centre-backs I've ever seen.
Fully agree.
Yeah. And I just look at it and I think the hype for this guy in the media, the hype of this guy from Pep, I mean, every I do press conference reactions on my channel. Every single press conference, these same Arsenal journalists that go to these press conferences go, so what do you think to Pep? What do you think to Pep doing it? Who cares? You know, it's Arsenal, it's Leeds versus Arsenal, and you're asking him about Pep's new deal. Nobody cares. We're Arsenal. Yeah, we want to know about what you think of Leeds and what you think of this and what you're going to do with William for going abroad when he shouldn't be. What you're going to do to, you know, Danny Ceballos and David Luiz fighting. And it makes it, you can see I'm getting angry, man. I'm going to stop, but it just winds me up, mate. It really frustrates me. And our fans just seem to lap it up because he won a cup.
Yeah.
Lee, I think, sorry, go on.
No, go on, Joe.
No, I was going to say, though, do you not think if Ramsey's in this side now, it improves it, though?
He averaged 3 league goals a season, man. You know, for me, he's an FA Cup hero. I was at Wembley when we beat Chelsea. I was there. It was mad. Yeah. He's an FA Cup hero. The one thing I'll always say about Ramsey is very much like Guendouzi, another player that Arteta has micromanaged and then bombed out the club. You know, they're both players that no matter what their performances are on the day, they will never hide. They always wanted the ball. They'd always try and make something happen. We have not got a single player in that midfield that wants to stand up and have it. Yeah. When we look at Jack Grealish the other week, you know, Jack Grealish, when we lost 1-0 to them and that pretty much kept him in the league last season, it's like I'm hearing our manager coming out saying, oh, he needs a rest, he needs a rest, he needs a rest. Well, why don't Jack Grealish need a rest? Jack Grealish gets kicked more than anyone in the Premier League. Now, Jack Grealish gets the ball and he is the focal point of everything good for Aston Villa going forward. He dragged them to safety. And the last 2 times we've played against this guy, not once have we kicked him. Yeah, we just let him run rings around us. And if you compare Jack Grealish to Ramsey, they're stratospheres apart. When he went to Juve, I actually said on a show, the day he left, I said he'll be at Everton inside 3 years because Juve didn't want him. They only got him because he was free and they can make a profit when they sell him. They do it all the time. Emre Can, you know, other players along the way, they do it all the time.
Mm. It's an interesting one. I would love to sit down and talk Arsenal with you for just one.
I'm watching and I'm probably ruining your show, mate.
No, you're not ruining anything. You keep on as you want, and if you want to do that, we will absolutely sit down and do an audio podcast on that. Dan J says comparing Arteta to Klopp is stupid on so many reasons, but Klopp wouldn't have lasted a year with their Arsenal fan base. Dan, I disagree. I think Klopp would have, because he would have just come out and told Arsenal fans to shut up, and you know, he would have just come out and went, "I'll do this." And he's a much stronger person than Unai Emery or Mikel Arteta. I think it's a little bit underestimated how strong-willed and how straight to the point Jurgen Klopp is, and that's what benefits him in so many ways. I'm going to have to get predictions on this game. If Lee tells me Arsenal are going to lose here, I'm going to feel so sorry for him for the weekend. But Pete, I'll come to you first. What are you going for?
High scoring draw, 2-2, even a 3-3, but high scoring draw, good game.
Yeah, I'm going somewhere along that line as well. Joe, come on, what are we having?
2-0.
2-0 Leeds.
Yeah.
Lee, what are we having?
I'm going to do my preview tomorrow at 9 p.m. on my channel, right? So if I give a scoreline now and that changes by tomorrow, that's because I've maybe had a little bit more time to think about it and look at it. But I think we'll lose 2-1.
Okay. Quick predictions on these two from you, please, gents. Pete, I'll come to you first. Just a prediction: Burnley v Palace.
Oh my God! Like stomach's just gone. Oh dear. Yep. It's got to be 0-0. Yeah. It's a bad 90 minutes of football. That.
Lee.
1-0 Palace.
Joe.
0-0 as well. Yeah, horrible.
I think Palace win this. I think Palace win this 3-1. I think Palace, there's more goals in Palace than people let on, I think. And I just think Burnley are awful, to be perfectly honest with you. Right, last game of the weekend. Liverpool v Leicester. Pete, I'm going to let you stew for a second. I'll get to you in a minute because obviously you're the Leicester fan and I'm the Liverpool fan. But Joe, going into this one, there's been a lot made. And me and Pete were discussing this before we came on live. The injury situations at a lot of clubs at the moment is bizarre, to be honest with you. Well, it's not bizarre. It's quite easy to work out what's going on. Bizarre would be like, I don't know how this is happening, but it's clear why it's happening. You know, as we've said, so many games, sending them all around the world. They're catching COVID. They're coming back. They're isolating. They're getting injured. They're playing too many games. There's muscle injuries all over the place. And when you look at this one for the weekend, like Leicester have a serious amount of players out. Liverpool have a serious amount of players out. A mixture of muscle injuries and just long-term stuff like Joe Gomez and Virgil van Dijk. But what are you expecting from this one, Joe? Because I'm going to put my hands up and I expect this to be absolute carnage.
Yeah, so it's hard to say it, but I think Liverpool's home record that stretches back to April 2017, I believe, could be in jeopardy, Gav. I think just the amount of bodies. I mean, please tell me who's playing at the back. I've seen Milner might be coming in there for being
the back four. Well, it'd be Alisson in goal. The back four looks like it will be either Milner or Nico Williams at right back. It'll be Joel Matip, Fabinho, and Robertson as your other three.
Okay.
And then in midfield, looks like THIAGO could be back. Wijnaldum is there, Keita is there, Curtis Jones is there, and if Milner doesn't play right back, he's an option as well.
See, when you say that, it's like, oh, it doesn't sound that bad actually. I think it could be in jeopardy though. I mean, what's that now? 6 wins on the bounce in all competitions for Leicester. They're flying at the minute. Vardy, Barnes, Maddison's coming on and doing bits when he does. I do really like the look of Leicester. And yeah, I think look, there's going to be goals. That's one thing for certain for me. I think there's going to be goals galore in this game. I know it's hard. It's hard for me to say, Gav, because I have to think, bloody hell, you're actually saying that Liverpool are going to lose a game, but especially at home. But yeah, I think it could be the record up, and Leicester might nick it, mate.
Okay, yeah, I'm absolutely fine with you saying that. And don't worry, I'll text you in the middle of next week to come on next Friday. Like that, don't be worried.
Well, to say you're not coming back on.
But no, a couple of people have informed me here. Nico Williams is actually injured. THIAGO, they don't think will make the game. Well, Klopp said THIAGO and Fabinho are in a good place, so we don't really know. But if you take THIAGO and Nico Williams out of it, I think you're looking at an 11 of Liverpool of Alisson, Milner, Matip, Fabinho, Robertson. Then you're probably looking at something like Wijnaldum, Keita, Jones, Mane, Firmino, Jota. I think that's probably an 11 that's decent. Shaqiri obviously is there as well. Liverpool have got squad depth. There's no doubt about that. It's just when you see the names on the list that aren't there, it's like it's a little bit frightening. Lee, Liverpool beat Leicester. You know, Liverpool have a ridiculous home record. I think it's 63 or 4 games unbeaten at home in league football. It's astonishing record, to be honest with you. But they do go into this one, you know, I'm quite happy with the start Liverpool have made this season. You know, the Villa stuff, you just go, yeah, whatever, that happens. They draw with Everton, should have won, and City was a fair result. They've won the rest of their games. Of course, they have played Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, Man City now. They have played some really strong teams in their first 8, and they sit a point off the top. But when you look at this, is this one where it's just a case of both teams missing players? Who adapts best? Because I think it's genuinely going to be a cracking game of football.
It's going to be a good watch. Two teams that can adapt. I mean, Liverpool, like you said, the amount of injury, I think you got the most injuries in the Premier League. I think City are close behind, but I think that's down to the fact that obviously the whole COVID thing. I think that's down to the fact that for the last 3 years, you've been relentless, man. Like the way he's had them pressing is a joke. Yeah, and eventually it was going to catch up at some point. I mean, some of your injuries are innocuous, like injuries, but I just think like I look at Klopp and I look at Liverpool and I just think like you've got the fear factor. You know that when you're going to Anfield, no matter what Liverpool team's going out on the pitch, it's Liverpool because he's brought that back to you now. You know, so although Leicester are going to go there and they've got Jamie Vardy, they've got quite. Listen, Leicester's midfield, every single one of them gets in our team. Yeah, Vardy probably gets in our team. You know, although I love Aubameyang, I'd probably play them both.
I'd love Vardy at Liverpool.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I mean, but you look at their centre backs. You know, we've got a young lad called SALAH. He can't even get a game. You know, Leicester have turned this young lad Fofana into one of the best centre backs in the league this season. You know, and it's like, why can't our young guy get a game? They were partners at St Etienne. That's another thing. I'm not going to go off on again about Arteta, but I think Brendan Rodgers is going back there, and obviously he was one Gerrard slip, bless him, away from winning a title. And I think a lot of people forget that. Like, he's a good manager, Brendan Rodgers, or coach, whatever you want to call him. But he's got a quality team. He's got him playing quality football. But the thing I like about Rodgers, when he came to the Emirates, we fully expected him to play tippy-tappy football. And he said, I'm just going to sit back. Our defence is better than yours. You're going to brick it, and then we're just going to nick it. As soon as we brought Mustafi on, he was like, lovely jubbly, let's get Vardy on the pitch. And it worked perfect. He's a smart manager. I think, see, Liverpool's defence, you just read out a potential backline. Matip,
Fabinho, Robertson, and possibly Milner.
Milner, possibly, right back?
Yeah.
And then Robertson, left back. For me, who's the best left back in the world, by the way. That's still a good back line, if we're being honest. I mean, Matip's a bit iffy at times, but Fabinho slotted in there a few times over the last year or so. I'm going to sit on the fence and get splinters. I think it's going to be 1-1.
Okay. I think it's very easy to go. Like I slagged Joe earlier for sitting on the fence, but I'm okay with you doing it because I think it's a harder game to call. And I let Joe away with less than I let other people away with, to be honest. P, we've mentioned the injuries. You know, you've talked about Castagna, you've talked about Pereira. What's his name? Johnny Evans has been missing a little bit. Soyuncu has been missing it. And Didi. You mentioned, you reeled off these names earlier, and I went, whoa, Jesus. And like Liverpool have a bad, so have Leicester. And I think, you know, listen, there's people watching this show now, and they know what I've said about Brendan Rodgers at the end of last season. For anybody that doesn't, I said he was a disgrace. I said Leicester's second half of the season was a disgrace, and he should probably consider his position at Leicester City Football Club because of 23 points from 19 games. And I don't think I was wrong for saying that. I'm not backing down from that. But the credit I will give him is that the context of which he's had to play out this season, they've looked a bit tighter at the back, bar West Ham at home, I think, when they were poor. But he's kind of not manufactured this situation, but he's been dropped in this situation, and he seemed to have adapted very well, which for me is not a massive trait of Rodgers. When you look at the start of the season, Pete, you have to be A, delighted, and B, you know, there's Leicester fans in this chat, and it's great to see them there, and they're saying, you know, there's a lot of players that are back in training, you know, so if Leicester can get through the next 3, 4, 5 games and get everyone back, and they're still in a decent position, you're in a really good spot for the rest of the season. Now, we did say that at the Christmas last year and it fell apart, but would you learn from that as well, Pete? Would you have learned from what happened last season and take that on board?
Yeah, I think they're playing a different formation, different style of football. They've got a stronger all-round squad, and when you bring back a certain player, it's great news. When you bring back 2 players, it's great who can add to the first team squad. When you're bringing back Pereira, Soyuncu, Castagna, Wilfred and Didi, there's 4 first-team players, and there's 4 first-team players for most sides in the Premier League. And that's going to be something really to look forward to over the next, say, 4 to 6 weeks, possibly even Castagna this weekend. What Leicester have done so far this season, you can easily mirror it to last season, but at the end of last season, it all went horribly wrong. We won that last game when there were fans in the stadium, when we beat Aston Villa at home. And that kind of there was like a relief in the stadium, because it was like, we've been on a bad run, but we've turned over Aston Villa at home, feel-good factor, and then, of course, bang, no football for a long time. And we came back and it was horrible. I thought Leicester would cope very well with no crowds in the stadium. I thought the style of football would actually suit kind of a COVID era. It didn't at all. There were mistakes made on the field. There were mistakes made off the field. It wasn't quite panic stations. There was a few I put down questionable decisions in various games. Many Leicester fans will highlight an away game, second last game of the season away at Bournemouth. There was a few really iffy substitutions there. But overall, even though what happened in 2016, there are still a certain amount of players there who are in the side still. This is a side who have never really been in that position, and you would expect them to learn from it. So the fact that they collapsed, which they did at the end of last season, yes, was a real sore point. But you go again, and they've started just like last season. They've changed their formation. They're playing the 3-4-3, which most sides are playing now in the Premier League. It suited them down to the ground because of the problems at the back. And it's meant that players such as Christian Fuchs have come into the side. He can no longer play as a fullback now. So he's been playing on the left side of a back three. It's really suited him. Wesley Fofana's come in. And I said on For Fox 8 podcast that he's the biggest gamble in Leicester's history in terms of the transfer market. I still stand by that because you're signing the guy who's played 25 league games for St Etienne and you're paying £32 million for him. That's not something that Leicester do. He's come into the side and he's been absolutely sensational. He's calm. He is brave. He's, I think, the best player in the side instantly. He's a player that Leicester have never signed before. We've never signed these sorts of players. We've developed players, and we've signed. I said when we signed Yuri Tillemans on a permanent deal, that was the best signing we've ever made because he was playing at a certain level that we've never been able to sign before. This guy is absolutely mustard, and I'm honestly, people would turn around and go, "Really? Is he?" Honestly, is a centre half. How good can a centre half?
You're breaking my heart, man.
He's
Stop.
performed so well, and
Seriously.
I hope he really shows it to Anfield.
Yeah,
honestly, I'm generally not going over the top, and people who know me know that I'm actually quite very level-headed and maybe even downbeat too much. I've never seen anything like this, and he's a centre. He's not even a centre forward. You sign a centre forward, he scores 6 goals in 3 games. You think he's the best player ever. Yeah. This is a centre half, and I generally think he's the best player in the side at the moment in a very strange way because again he's a centre half. He's not your Jamie Vardy, who's the best player that's ever played for the club.
Yeah, it's like when you say like how good could he get? Like I've seen him a couple of times. I've been really impressed by him. What I would say is Liverpool fans I speak to about him, rave about him. I was talking to one guy last week, and do you know what? It was early on the season. His name came up, and I was like, "Who's this fella?" Fofana. I didn't even know he signed him, and I watched him. It was really good. And then a couple of weeks later, I was talking to a Liverpool fan, a mate of mine, and he just went, "This fella is just outrageous." And we've lost Pete off the field for a little minute. He'll be back in a second. Super chat there from Michael Ramsey. He says, "No good coach will buy Benteke, Joe Allen, or Lovren, and etc." So Rodgers is trash. Michael is mad. He's brilliant. But in fairness to him, he makes a half decent point there, on Benteke. And anyway, Joe Allen. I see where you're coming from. He had some good games for Liverpool and was a bit missing in others. But Lovren is just, listen, you either love him or you hate him. And Michael clearly hates him, and that's absolutely fine. Sorry, Pete's just gone out. I'll get him back in a second anyway. Lads, I'm going to get predictions off you for this one before we finish up. Lee, I'm going to come to you first.
Liverpool, Leicester, yeah?
Yeah.
I'm going to go... So I'm going draw. What did I say? 2-2.
2-2. Splinters. Yeah.
I'm gonna go 2-2. I think I said 1-1, but I'm gonna go 2-2.
Okay, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Joe, what are you going for?
Go hard or go home, mate. I'm going Leicester 3-2, man.
3-2 to Leicester. Whoa. Pete will be delighted. Pete will be absolutely delighted with that. I think Pete is back there, but I think he might have frozen. So I'm just going to remove him out there a minute until he gets moving again. This one is difficult for me. I think it's going to be a cracking game of football. I think Liverpool's squad depth is shown in what they can put on the pitch with Van Dijk missing, with Gomez missing, with Trent Alexander-Arnold missing, with Jordan Henderson missing, and with Mo Salah missing. Like, they're 5 huge players for Liverpool. You still have Oxlade-Chamberlain out injured, and when you look at the players that are out, you go, wow. But then when you actually put that 11 in front, like Joe said earlier, it's actually not that bad, really.
No.
Leicester are missing some players, and I think somebody said to me the other day, nearly 20% of their goals this season have been penalties. So Liverpool need to be careful on that front. I'm going to go. No, fuck you, Joe. I'm going 3-1 Liverpool. I'm not having that sort of messing on this channel. Not even from you. Kangaroo says 3-1 to Liverpool. Tiro says 6-1 to Liverpool. I think he's messing. Georgie 1 foot. Leicester City fan. He says Leicester 1 or 2-0. I think if you're doing well to stop Liverpool scoring, I'm being honest with you. Barry Devaney says 8 penalties in 8 games for Leicester. Well, I didn't know that either.
Gav, do you think? Do you think if Leicester win, it blows it wide open in this crazy season?
Possibly, but what I would say is, you're 10 games in, it starts to take shape. I think, and we say it every year, Joe, the Christmas period is crucial. I think it's absolutely magnified this season because of just the way the way they're throwing games at players is just ridiculous. Like, I genuinely think that some of the clubs in Europe would genuinely just turn around and ask to come out of the FA Cup if they could. I mean that. And I think the Europa League will be sacrificed by Leicester. I think the Europa League could be sacrificed by Spurs if at the turn of the year they were in a real chase for top 4 or a title. Yeah. I think something's going to have to give, Joe, because you hear people say they're professional athletes. You should be able to play 2 or 3 games a week. It's not like this. Isn't like the fucking 90s. This is so far beyond the effort, the distance they're running, the commitment they're putting in. It's madness. Like what footballers do nowadays. And listen, we struggle to watch fucking 3 games a week, right, without our nerves going. So these dudes have been asked to play them. Yeah. I don't fancy sitting beside Levo when I'm being honest with you. But look, I'm going to go with 3-1 to Liverpool just because Joe's upset me. Pete, you're back there. Just give us your final prediction on Liverpool v Leicester, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think that was Brendan Rodgers pulling the plug because I was going off on one of that.
He was plugging in his toothbrush, I think.
Honestly, I went maybe a bit over the top. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I can see Leicester maybe having a lot of pace on the bench. Cengiz Under scored a couple of goals for Turkey in the international break. Very quick winger. I think Harvey Barnes will be on the bench. They'll play Maddison and also Dennis Pratt alongside Vardy. Pratt can help out in midfield. It's going to be a tremendously interesting game. I think Leicester are going to do what they didn't do at Arsenal and what they didn't do at Manchester City. I think they're actually going to go on the attack. I can see Leicester actually going for the game early and trying to get a foothold in the game rather than sitting back as they did and to such good effect against Arsenal and Man City. I think it's going to be a fabulous game. I think there's going to be a lot of goals, and I can't see it being a draw. I think both sides are going to really go for it. Truth be honest, I can see it being a Liverpool win, and I can see Liverpool win, maybe outscoring Leicester, something like 2-1 maybe. But what I can see is Leicester scoring early and going and trying to catch Liverpool on the back foot early, which will surprise many people. But I think that's something that Brendan Rodgers is probably got up his sleeve because of the start of this season, and also because the substitutions he's made, the tactical changes throughout games, it's all worked so far this season. He's made some decisions which have been questionable at the time, and they've worked perfectly. And I think that will give him the confidence to change things around and really go for it. And again, try and catch out Liverpool. I think if you go toe-to-toe with them, you might have a chance with a weakened lineup. I think if Leicester sit back, they will be caught out eventually. So an exciting game. Look forward to seeing how Fofana plays against some world-class opposition. Yuri Tillemans is in the best form of his life, playing very well for Belgium, as we know, obviously against England in the week. And Vardy, well, we know who's going to score for Leicester because it's against one of the big 6, isn't it? And he's just an absolute marvel. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 Liverpool win, which I know sounds weird coming on to a show like this and predicting that your side will lose, but that's generally what I think. But I think Leicester will catch them early and go in front.
Okay, very, very fair and very honest there. We're going to finish up. Before we do, Joe, tell me, All Leeds TV, hit us. What have you got for the weekend, and where can people find you?
Yeah, watch along obviously for the game. It's going to be tough though, man. Arsenal, they've got the content game on lock, haven't they? So we'll hardly get anyone watching us this weekend. No, but check us out on All Leeds TV. We'll be doing the watch along and obviously post match and that. And if we do beat Arsenal, I'm gonna ask Lee to come on my channel. So I think
even if you don't beat us, I'll come on and do a little review with you, mate.
Good man, good, because I think it'll be good.
Fit it in around that, mate. My schedule is ridiculous, so I'll have to fit it in at some point. But I'll definitely come on, 100%.
There you go. You see, bringing communities together. Lee goes on and absolutely destroys Arsenal on Leeds TV. It'll be an absolute must watch. Lee, your schedule is crazy. Your channel is absolutely flying. Where can we find you?
Well, Lee Gunner on YouTube. Tomorrow, I actually have a young lad at the Grand Dam on Twitter, and he's a Chelsea fan. He's doing a Newcastle Chelsea watch along on my channel.
Okay.
Then after that, I've got a Leeds United fan coming on at 9 o'clock to do a preview. A guy called KG.
Okay.
I think.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
he's really
KG.
good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's coming. I've never spoken to him before,
Really
but
good.
a few people are putting me in touch with him. I'm doing. What am I doing? I'm doing a 5 p.m. show, a 9 p.m. I'm everywhere, mate. And then Sunday watch along. Yeah, I'm kind of worried if I'm honest, and I never want us to lose. But if it means he gets sacked after the loss, then I'll take it.
Okay, no problem at all. P, the best named podcast in the world, for fuck's sake. Where can people find you?
You can find us at all the relevant avenues that you listen to podcasts, for Fox 8 podcast. And I've been very busy actually this weekend regarding the podcast. We always do we always take a step back. I mentioned about the way that I kind of feel about football and feel about Leicester. I'm not afraid to say that they're going to lose or maybe not overhyped players. Scratch what I said against Fofana, but no. So what we do is that we wait for everything the dust to settle, and we have shows that go out on maybe either a Monday night or a Tuesday to kind of get a balanced feel of what's happened at the weekend, and then looking forward to the Europa League and the Premier League. So that'll be coming out on Tuesday. But I'm a broadcaster all weekends, football and horse racing. So I'll be very, very busy, trying to make a few quid, but also, hopefully having a very successful and entertained weekend leading up to the big match Sunday evening. Thank Christ it's not pay-per-view. What a mess that was.
Absolutely, what a mess that was. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure. Just before I go, with regards to the LFC Daytrippers, we're taking tomorrow off because, well, we want to. And Sunday we will be live an hour before kickoff with your match build-up. Keith will be looking after you for that. There will be no post-match show because the Fatback 4 will be on Sunday night at 10 o'clock, so you'll get all your reaction there. The forum should be back with you on Monday, and from there on in, we'll let you know what's going on. We did speak to you last week about possible sponsors coming on the show. We do have a couple lined up. Manscaped is one of them, which I'm really excited about for the simple reason the gear they have looks brilliant, and secondly, Grizz trying to explain to you how he keeps his nether regions neat and tidy is going to be the best entertainment you have ever seen. So that will be starting on Sunday night. So manscaped.com, if you go there and you type in the discount code LFCDT, you will get 20% off and free shipping. Please, please, please support our sponsors, because when you support them, they support us, and that's how it works, okay? The second one is footballprizes.co.uk. Really good stuff. Joe put me in contact with these lads. They basically raffle off memorabilia. So the first prize out at the moment, Liverpool related, is a signed and framed Virgil van Dijk jersey. It went live tonight at 7:30. There's only 99 tickets, I think, for this, at £4.95 each, and that finishes up next Friday evening at 7:30, and a live draw on their Facebook page at 8:30 to let people know who have won the raffle. It's a really good idea. Some of the stuff they have is brilliant. You can win trainers that can be customised. There's stuff from all different clubs. It's really
I won
good.
this, Gav.
But there you go.
This is a Marcelo Bielsa signed medal. I only ever entered once, and then I won that. And then they contacted me and said, "Can we sponsor?" I was like, "Yeah, Sam."
It's rigged. It's rigged. It's definitely an inquiry here.
This was before, man. Before, honestly. But
No, but they're really good lads. It's footballprizes.co.uk, at Football Prizes on Twitter, football.prizes, I think, on Instagram, and on Facebook as well, Football Prizes. If you go in there, you'll see all the stuff they have. You'll see all the draws they have. I know the Liverpool one is Virgil van Dijk. I think there was a Rooney one earlier on today. There was a signed Sancho jersey. There's Leeds stuff, Chelsea stuff, Arsenal stuff. There's stuff for nearly every club, and then they have like mad ones thrown in, like win Adidas trainers but get them customised the way you want them and stuff. I know the Virgil van Dijk one is £4.95 to enter to buy a ticket for the raffle, and there's only 99 tickets being sold, so it's a really good idea. It's another sponsor that is we're going to mention throughout the week on our social media, but on our midweek fix show we'll give them a big push and let you know what's going on there, okay? Last thing, super chat there from Michael Ramsey, my friend Mike. Michael. I won't have a word said against him. Lee, learn this Arsenal have only one good player in Martinelli, so it doesn't matter which they have. He just likes Martinelli. He doesn't like the rest of your players.
He's preaching to the converted, mate.
Yeah, I think he's wasted a few quid there trying to convert you.
What about Eddie, though? What about you rate Eddie, right?
Bruv, he couldn't even get in Leeds United team. He's leading the line at the Etihad in June. Do you know what I'm saying? It's a madness.
Do you not rate him at all? Do you not rate him at all, Lee?
Oh, absolutely bang average.
Wow. Okay.
Right, well, listen, I think that's about it. Lads, it's been an absolute pleasure. 1 hour and 25 minutes. We've gone over what usually a lot of time, but look, we're in charge. We can do what we like. P, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, mate. No worries. And all the best for Sunday up until about 4:15.
Yeah, same to you, mate. Joe, it's been an absolute pleasure as usual. Enjoy your weekend.
Cheers, buddy.
Good stuff. And Lee, try to enjoy your weekend. Try to stop doing content at some stage. A cup of tea and a biscuit at some stage, man. Just get away from it all. It's worth it. And when you need me to sit with you to do an audio podcast for 2 hours about the trials and tribulations of Arsenal Football Club, I am there for you, brother.
Therapy session. I like it.
Absolutely.
No, honestly, it's been a pleasure coming on and meeting all you guys as well, having a football chat. Love it. And I'll take her out.
he just can't leave it. It's unbelievable. It's actually been my favourite part of this week, watching Lee talk about Arsenal and go, I just want this fucker out of this club. I just can't. You just can't get away from it. It's amazing. But look, but look, that has been the Friday forecast from the LFC Daytrippers. It's been an absolute pleasure. The people in the chat have been amazing. There's been loads of great comments. There's been loads of Leicester fans, Arsenal fans, Leeds fans, Liverpool fans, Manchester United fans. I've seen it there as well. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks a million. We'll talk to you soon. Over and out.